Before you even say a word on a podcast, you're already making an impression. Your mic, your lighting, your video quality, it's either building trust or quietly breaking it. As a guest, you might think it's all about the value you bring, and it is. But here's the truth. Before your value can land, your presence has to earn trust. Every frame, every soundbite, every pixel carries your energy. It tells your audience whether they can lean in or if they should tune out. You've invested years developing your expertise. You've overcome challenges that would have stopped others in their tracks. You have insights that could genuinely transform someone's life or business. And now you've finally been invited onto that podcast you've been hoping for. But what if I told you that all that brilliant preparation might never reach a single listener? Not because your ideas aren't valuable, but because something invisible is blocking them from being received. Something that has nothing to do with what you say and everything to do with how you're being perceived before you even begin. I was consulting with a brilliant thought leader last year. She had revolutionary ideas, compelling stories, and expertise that could genuinely change lives. She'd been a guest on 17 podcasts, but nothing happened afterward. No emails, no new clients, no invitations to speak again. I'm saying all the right things, she told me. Why isn't it converting? What she didn't realize, what so many guest experts don't realize, is that their expertise travels across an invisible bridge. A bridge built from sound quality, visual presence, environmental authenticity, and the subtle energy they transmit before they even begin to share their knowledge. Now, when that bridge is shaky, your most valuable ideas fall into the void before they ever reach the listeners who need them. Now, research in cognitive psychology shows us something fascinating. Humans form their initial impression of someone within the first 7 seconds of exposure. 7 seconds! And in the digital world, that window shrinks even further. Studies from Stanford's Persuasive Technology Lab found that 75% of users make judgment about credibility based on aesthetic design alone. What does that mean for podcasters? It means that quality of your audio isn't just a technical detail, it is the foundation of trust. Your background isn't decorative. It's the context that frames your expertise. Your framing and lighting determine whether someone's brain categorizes you as professional or amateur. And this isn't shallow, it's how human perception works. But here's where most podcast guests get trapped. They think the host's microphone isn't good enough, or the podcast isn't popular enough, my talking points aren't refined enough, and they enter an endless cycle of chasing bigger shows and crafting more perfect messaging, hoping that the next appearance will finally break through. But after facilitating over 700 interviews and coaching dozens of recurring podcast guests, I've discovered something surprising. The biggest source of noise isn't external, it's within you. It's the dissonance between who you truly are and how you're showing up as a guest. It's trying to sound like someone else's version of an expert. It's attempting to project authority instead of embodying it. It's focusing on performance rather than connection. And no high-profile podcast, no matter how popular, can amplify a message that's distorted by this kind of internal static. So, how do we build this bridge correctly? How do we ensure our expertise doesn't get lost in poor execution when we're guests on other people's platforms? I've developed a framework after years of observation, analysis, and direct experience with hundreds of podcast guests. I call it the Sine framework. The S stands for sound. It creates the safety because your voice is just transmitting expertise. It's creating an emotional environment. When your audio is clear, warm, and direct, listeners feel held. They relax and they trust. Because poor audio doesn't just sound bad, it creates subconscious tension. Listeners never really fully receive your message. The I, image, builds integrity. Your visual presence, particularly on video podcasts, isn't about looking perfect. It's about demonstrating care. Good lighting shows respect for the audience's visual experience. A stable frame communicates stability in your thinking. And eye contact, even through a lens, builds connection. These aren't superficial concerns. They're the visual language of trustworthiness. Now, the G, ground, tells your story. The space behind you isn't just a background. It's the context of your expertise. Is it cluttered or curated? Is it generic or personal? Is it distracting from your message or enhancing it? Your environment isn't just what's behind you. It's a frame for everything you say. The end narrative becomes notable. When these elements align with who you genuinely are, not who you think an expert should be, something magical happens. Your expertise doesn't just get heard, it gets felt. And what gets felt gets remembered. Now, the practical side, because ideas without implementation are just dreams. For sound, as a guest, you control your audio destiny. A quality dynamic microphone like the Shure MV7 with proper positioning will transform your presence. Place it 4 to 6 inches from your mouth, speak with constant volume, and treat your recording space to reduce echo. Even if the host equipment is mediocre, your audio will stand out. For image, position your camera at eye level. Light your face from a 45-degree angle to eliminate shadows. Sit with your shoulders back and your energy forward. Because on video podcasts, this visual intentionality immediately distinguishes you from other guests. For ground, create a background that supports your expertise rather than competing with it. Every element should either enhance your credibility or be completely removed. Your space should begin telling your story before you speak a word. For narrative, before you connect to any podcast interview, take 3 deep breaths. Remember why your expertise matters. Connect to the individual listener who needs to hear exactly what you have to say. I worked with a relationship coach who had been a guest on 32 podcasts over 2 years. Despite her profound insights and genuine desire to help, her appearance generated almost no business. We didn't change her talking points. We transformed her presence as a guest. We upgraded her audio setup, not with expensive gear, but with proper technique. We rearranged her background to showcase carefully chosen elements that subtly reinforce her experience. But most importantly, we worked on her energy, helping her speak not as someone desperate to prove her expertise, but as someone comfortable inhabiting it. Within 3 months, she'd been invited back to 4 shows where she'd previously appeared. 6 months later, she was tracking 43% of her new clients directly to podcast experiences. Her message hadn't changed, but the bridge it traveled on had been completely rebuilt. Your presence as a podcast guest isn't just about looking or sounding good. It's about removing every possible barrier between your valuable expertise and the people who need to hear it. It's about honoring your own voice by ensuring it's received exactly as you intended. It's about recognizing that in the world where everyone's fighting to be a guest expert, how you show up is inseparable from the expertise you share. In the stillness of my childhood between Karachi and Riyadh, I learned to listen to people, to energy, to space. I watched how my elders carried their presence. They didn't need volume because they had weight. And that's what I invite you to develop, not performance, but presence. Imagine a world where every important expert is received with the respect their expertise deserves, where valuable insights aren't dismissed because poor presentation, where your knowledge lands with exactly the impact you intend, where being a podcast guest consistently creates opportunities rather than disappointments. That world is entirely possible, and it doesn't start with chasing bigger shows or crafting more perfect talking points. It starts with understanding this fundamental truth. Your presence is the bridge your expertise travels on. Build it with intention, craft it with care, align it with who you truly are. Because when your studio becomes your signature, when your presence authentically amplifies your expertise, you don't just get booked, you get remembered, and remembered voices are the ones that change the world. Thank you.